Hey everyone, and welcome. Looking at the entire Microsoft technology landscape, it can feel like you're staring at this huge mountain of information, right? You've got Azure, Windows internals, all of it. But don't worry. Today, we're going to take a clear, structured journey and make sense of it all together. So if you've ever felt just a little bit lost trying to connect all the dots between these different tools, trust me, you are not alone. The whole goal of this explainer is to give you that bird's eye view, to show you how all these different pieces actually fit together. Okay, let's dive right in. So here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to use a layered stack approach. We'll kick things off at the highest level, the cloud, and then we're going to drill down layer by layer until we get right into the nitty-gritty of the kernel itself. All right, first up, the automated cloud. This is all about the modern, high-level services in Azure that are designed to take all that manual labor out of managing your applications and your infrastructure. Just think about all those repetitive clicks you have to do in the cloud portal. Well, Azure Runbooks let you turn all of those manual steps into reliable, repeatable PowerShell recipes. They're absolutely key for consistency, and they use assets like credentials and schedules to handle secure logins and run jobs automatically. Super handy. Now, this next one solves a classic problem. How in the world do you update a live website without actually taking it down? Well, that's where deployment slots come in. They act as a staging area. You can push a new version, you can test it thoroughly, and then, and this is the magic part, with a single click, you swap it into production. The crucial thing here, your users experience literally zero downtime. When it comes to databases in Azure, you've basically got two main paths you can go down. You can run SQL Server on a virtual machine, that's IaaS, where you control everything, the OS, the patching, all of it. Or you can use Azure SQL Database, that's PaaS, where Microsoft manages all the infrastructure for you and even gives you a 99.99% availability guarantee. It's really a trade-off. Do you want total control, or do you want way less management overhead? And hey, here's a really practical pro tip for anyone out there who's scripting deployments. When you authenticate using Add Azure Account, that login token you get, it typically expires after about 12 hours. So if you have a long-running script that suddenly fails with an authentication error, yeah, this is very, very likely the reason why. Okay, let's move on down the stack. We're going from the cloud to the operating system itself. We're going to cover how to deploy, manage, and secure Windows. A successful Windows 10 rollout actually starts long before that first install ever happens. You've really got to do your homework. First, you assess your hardware. Then, you check that all your critical applications are compatible. And finally, you use tools like the Windows Imaging and Configuration Designer to bundle all your customizations into one neat little package. Windows has some really fantastic security features built right into the boot process. Think of Secure Boot like a bouncer at a club. It checks the digital signature of the bootloader to stop nasty rootkits from hijacking the system. And then Measured Boot takes it a step further. It takes a cryptographic fingerprint of each component as it loads, creating a log that you can check later to make sure nothing was tampered with. So, what if you need to test different operating systems or software setups without messing up your main machine? Well, Client Hyper-V is built right into Windows, and turning it on is as simple as flipping a switch in your Windows features. After a quick restart, you'll have a really powerful virtualization tool right at your fingertips. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Now we're going to focus on the specific tools that IT pros are using every single day for deep analysis, for system management, and, for when things go wrong, for disaster recovery. If you're using Power BI, you're definitely going to run into DAX. This is the formula language that unlocks the real insights. It lets you create these custom calculations, they're called measures, things like year-over-year growth or a percentage of the total that just don't exist in your raw data. It's incredibly powerful. All right, I need you to listen closely to this one because this is probably the single most important rule when you're working deep inside Windows. Before you make any change in the registry editor, you absolutely, positively must back up the key you're about to touch. A single mistake in here can make your entire system unbootable. No joke. And thankfully, creating that little safety net is super easy. In the editor, you just find your key, right-click on it, and choose Export. That saved.reg file is your one-click restore point if anything goes sideways. Okay, get ready for one of the coolest pro tips out there. Seriously, what if I told you that you could run any of the legendary sysinternals troubleshooting tools on any machine instantly without having to install a single thing? Well, the answer is an address, live.sysinternals.com.
Just type that into a web browser, or you can even type it directly into a File Explorer address bar, and bam, you have instant access to the entire toolkit. It is an absolute game changer for troubleshooting on the fly. And for our final section, we are diving deep. This is the deepest layer. This is where we look at the foundational technologies for really advanced troubleshooting, scripting, and the core system interfaces.
So when a program starts misbehaving, you need the right tool for the job. To see what a process is doing internally, like its threads, you use Process Explorer. To see what files or registry keys it's trying to access, which is great for permission issues, you use Process Monitor. And when it just crashes completely, WinDMG is your go-to tool for analyzing the memory dump to find that root cause. And, while it might seem a little old school, VBScript is still really relevant in a lot of automation scenarios. It uses a core set of objects to interact with the OS, like using wscript.shell to read the registry or the file system object to manage files. It's a very direct way to script system interactions. So we've talked about all these different layers of abstraction. But what happens when you need to talk directly to the kernel, bypassing everything else? What even is the Windows native API? This is it. This is the bottom floor. The native API is the raw, mostly undocumented, low-level interface that the operating system itself uses to function. It gives you direct access to the most fundamental kernel operations, managing memory, processes, security tokens, you name it. This is as close to the metal as you can possibly get in user mode. So really, the whole idea behind this entire journey, from the highest levels of the cloud all the way down to the kernel, was to give you a mental map. A shortcut, really. A way to see how Azure Automation, OS management, those powerful toolkits, and the deep system internals all connect and fit together. We have covered a massive amount of ground today, and that really just leaves us with one final thought. Now that you have the map, which of these territories looks the most interesting to you? What part of this landscape are you going to go explore first?